Thank you all so much, President Gutman, Provost Pritchett, Chairman Cohn, Reverend clergy, faculty, parents, families, friends, and partners, and the combined classes of 2018. I am overjoyed and overwhelmed, and above all, humbled. This is an honor I never could have imagined, but no award, no recognition has ever meant as much. I think of all the years I've stood and clapped and cheered watching Penn graduates march down Locust Walk for this ceremony, a procession that never fails to bring me to tears. And then the excitement of coming here and hearing poets and presidents, world leaders and global thinkers address our graduates, to say nothing of Bono and Denzel and Lin-Manuel, making me feel, as you can well understand at this moment, like that long-forgotten vice presidential candidate for Ross Perot back in 1992, Admiral James Stockdale, whose first words on the debate stage were, "Who am I and why am I here?" Even worse, I have a confession for all of you here today. I almost didn't graduate more than a half century ago. As commencement drew near, I had, unlike Ben Franklin, I just learned, I had failed to complete my gym requirement by passing the swim test. Yes, it was required. So I had to spend the last few weeks before commencement in the pool. It seemed like a waste of time. But you know, decades later, I got caught in a riptide off of Great Point on Nantucket Island. I had to tread water as I got carried out to sea for what seemed like an eternity before I was finally rescued. I wasn't sure I was going to make it, but I was prepared at Penn. I'm here today because when I arrived as an unformed 16-year-old freshman, this great university gave me choices at a time when it was not at all self-evident that women could strive to compete as equals. Penn is now vastly different than it was back in 1963, fully coeducational, diverse, even more intellectually vibrant, and physically so beautiful. I am proud of our stellar faculty, all of the physical improvements, our architecture, our green spaces. But most of all, I am here to celebrate you today. You are what make our university so great. Your intellectual capital, your research, your discoveries, your community service, as you have, we hope, forged lifelong friendships and become proud Quakers. So I've been thinking a lot about what wisdom I could offer your class today. I'm struck by how many of life's adventures are the result of accident, not design, if you are prepared to take advantage of the serendipitous. That means having the tools, the knowledge imparted by this great university, and the confidence to take chances, explore new paths, chase your dreams. I often think about how different my life would have been had I not wandered down the third-floor corridor of Houston Hall in the fall of my freshman year to follow the sounds of classical music and discovered what was then the studio of WXPN. In those days, our FM station was entirely student-run. We programmed classical music, jazz after midnight, folk music on Saturday nights, and news. After years of studying the violin and not fully prepared to admit my failures there in front of one of the great maestros of our era, but after years of studying the violin, I'd come to Penn, having realized that I was a good but not a great violinist. And no matter how hard I practiced, I would never, to paraphrase that old joke, never get to Carnegie Hall. But I was a pretty good English student, I had loved writing since becoming the school news reporter for our hometown newspaper in the 6th grade. I had fallen in love with history and literature thanks to encouraging teachers in high school. So exploring my interests in a liberal arts curriculum was an inviting alternate aspiration. And then on that day, early in the fall of my freshman year, I discovered broadcast news. Which brings me to my first lesson. Be curious. Do not presume to know who you might become, because you never finish becoming. I look back on those early years in the College of Liberal Arts for Women with gratitude and with thanks that the College of Liberal Arts for Women no longer exists. It was an artifact of a different era, as were the separate rules for women we found so constraining. The curfews, the dress code, the rules that did not apply to the men. It was an oppositional time over civil rights and later Vietnam. The early strivings of what was to grow into the women's movement. A decade both transformational and turbulent, marked by violence throughout. The killing of an American president only 2 months after my class arrived on this campus. The murders of 3 civil rights workers in 1964. And when we were young graduates, the murders of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Bobby Kennedy in 1968. Our generation had some very clear-cut issues. Changing laws to improve civil rights, dealing with Vietnam. The generations before had the Great Depression and World War II. Today, we are living through a period that feels equally challenging and disorienting. But now the challenges are subtler, even more complex. The social dilemmas affecting race, ethnicity, gender, problems that new laws can address, but not always fix. And today, political norms are under attack from all sides. What the late Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan used to call defining deviancy down. The New York senator, a great debater, also coined the phrase, "You are entitled to your own opinions, but not your own facts." But in today's politics, facts are described as alternative, and truths are often relative. Devices that we thought would liberate us can at times weigh us down. Social media that enable us to forge connections can at times be isolating. We can feel overrun by the velocity of information bombarding us day and night. And in a country more divided than at any time in recent memory, too often we retreat to our corners, becoming all too comfortable relying on news media that confirm our opinions rather than challenging our preconceived notions. But you here in the class of 2018, you have the capability, the education, and the spirit to tackle these and similar issues in a world with 3 times the number of people as when I graduated so many years ago. So my next lesson, be open-minded, never stop learning. How to find the truth? Use the skills you've learned here at Penn. Evaluate your sources, test your theories, be smart consumers. In this overheated environment, honest, fearless journalism is essential to sustaining our democracy. Honest journalism, fearless journalism is perhaps more necessary than at any time I can recall since the civil rights movement. But to fulfill our mission for you, the public, we must demand more of ourselves, and you must demand more of us. We must guard against errors and avoid hyperbole, make sure we do not jump to conclusions or parrot conventional wisdom. And as new media proliferate and lines are blurred between hard news and entertainment, those of us performing traditional journalism have to stick to our core mission. providing a reality check, a factual baseline against which to measure a storm of tweets. In this regard, calling us the enemy of the people or fake news is calculated to diminish our authority, to make it more difficult to challenge false narratives, even as our politics become increasingly disconnected from facts. Fake news is hardly a new phenomenon. Wars have been started as the result of sensational headlines based on false narratives. As long ago as 1898, when claims that a torpedo or some other external explosion blew up the USS Maine in Havana Harbor, killing hundreds on board. The cry, "Remember the Maine," quickly became the pretext for the U.S. to declare war against Spain. The cause, originally unclear, almost a century later, another investigation discovered that the tragedy was probably self-inflicted, possibly the result of a coal bunker fire on board. But these days, fake news is also what people call news they don't agree with. And it can be information warfare, such as Russian propaganda masquerading as legitimate news to exploit societal divisions and set us against each other. As consumers and purveyors of information, it's on us, all of us, to figure out what is real and what is not. So today my final lesson is be engaged. As you follow your passions and discover new pursuits, be involved citizens. Be involved citizens of your neighborhood, your community, your nation, and the world. Express yourselves, whether it is with a blog or a book or a painting or a play, in a classroom, by joining a movement or just playing a game. We all know the power that sports have to bring us together. Just take it from our incredible basketball team, the first to make the March Madness tournament in 11 years. Listen and learn, but don't just be an observer. There is never a permanent resting place for democracy or a free press. You have to work at it every day. If you know something is wrong, write that letter to the editor. Support a candidate of any political persuasion. Be involved. Speak up. Gain strength from the example of the teenagers in Parkland who transformed tragedy into purpose. Feel empowered by the women and the men who are no longer willing to tolerate the abuse of sexual predators. Me Too and Time's Up can teach us a kind of courage I never imagined as a 16-year-old freshman first arriving at Penn. It was pure happenstance that I walked down the third floor of Houston Hall that day, embarking on a path of discovery that became a career of never-ending adventure, all because of a little luck and because I was prepared to take advantage of it. Prepared because of Penn. Now it's your turn. I have no doubt that many of you will look back at your years here and realize it was full of such moments. Moments that at the time seemed to be happy accidents of your own. An afternoon with friends on the quad, a late night that turned into an early morning of studying at Van Pelt. Maybe inspiration even struck you one evening out at Smokey Joe's. Hey, who am I to judge? You have had a superb education, but in truth, it's only the first step on your journey. Your challenges will be great, but so will the opportunities. Your careers will likely veer in directions we have yet to imagine, toward occupations that have not yet been invented. Many of you will be leading the way in these transformations. But don't forget your roots here on this campus. They will nourish you as you grow and thrive. And remember, if you are rocketing through space someday, thanks to Elon Musk, the globe that you see will have no borders, no artificial boundaries, no barriers against refugees or immigrants. Just Just glorious, glorious vistas. And finally, if you'll permit me a little sentiment, let me share what my friend and mentor in journalism, Tim Russert, a great bear of a man from Buffalo, whom we lost way too soon, used to say as I would rush off to a new assignment each morning. Go get 'em. Go get 'em, class of 2018. You have made us all so proud. Thank you so much. Thank you for the honor of my lifetime.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.